Dear friends, welcome to this episode of the Theosophical Podcast. Today we welcome Catalina and Shikhar Agnihotri.
Hi, welcome.
Hi.
So we're very happy to have the two of you with us today. Have you ever thought of yourselves as the it couple in Theosophy? Getting a lot of work done together. I think that's the dream, right? So I'm just going to begin by introducing our lovely Catalina. So Catalina Isaza Cantor, is that how you pronounce your full name? So, so she has an honorary degree in literature and master in education. She's a teacher, translator, editor, and lifelong volunteer. Born in Colombia, but she's always felt herself a citizen of the world. So this led her on travels that allowed her to connect with other cultures, other ways of thinking, and languages as well. In 2019, she quit her job as university lecturer to move to the TS headquarters, Adyar. Member of TS, she became a member of the TS in 2006. She came in touch with Theosophy due to her parents, who always encouraged the inner search, spiritual practice, and a study of the Bhagavad Gita, secret doctrine, and other spiritual texts. Joining the TS meant finding the way back home. So since then, she began to work actively in various capacities. Member of the board of Colombian TS, coordinator of the Roundtable, organizer of groups of young Theosophists in English and Spanish, volunteer in TS Brazil, having lived there for almost 5 years, and at TS Adyar, she's translator, assisting with online international conventions during pandemics, part of the team of the School of the Wisdom, collaborator of the social media, etc. She's also editor of the Colombian TS magazine. She's author and lecturer on practical theosophy, literature, poetry, art, education, comparative religions at national and international level in various languages. She's a member of the board of the World Federation of Young Theosophists. In 2020, she started with her husband the Pragya CS Studio, which is a YouTube channel to spread Theosophy beyond languages. Okay.
And I will introduce Shikhar Agnihotri, Bachelor of Nautical Science, Mumbai University, India, worked in merchant shipping, voluntarily retired after working for 10 years from shipping services to take the inner journey. Joined the Theosophical Society in 2008 in Lucknow, came in touch with the TS due to Mother Mrs. Vasumati Agnihotri, who has been a member since 1980s. Founder member of TS Lodge in Lucknow by the name of Pragya, founder member of TOS Group in Lucknow by the name of Maitri. Given the duty of national lecturer of the Indian section of the Theosophical Society since 2016. Conducted study camps, seminars, youth camps, public lectures on theosophical subjects and holistic health all over India in theosophical lodges and schools and colleges. Articles published in international magazines, The Theosophist, The Indian Theosophist, Wake Up India, French and Spanish theosophical magazines. Given the duty of international speaker of the Theosophical Society Adyar since 2019, and delivered talks in various international theosophical forums in that capacity, started a YouTube channel, Pragya Studio, in May 2020 with wife Catalina to make theosophical teachings accessible to as many people as possible in many languages. At present, volunteering and residing with family at international headquarters of the Theosophical Society in Adyar, Chennai, India, in the administration office. Tries to implement theosophical principles, teachings in daily life, often without success, but not giving up, because strongly believes that there is no other path to go. and very nice to meet you.
Same here. Thank you for inviting us for this session from World Federation of Young Theosophists. It's a pleasure and honor.
Thank you for joining us. So let us begin with our opening question. So how did you come in contact with Theosophy and the Theosophical Society, in your own words? Maybe each of you can
You already
detail.
mentioned a little bit and by data. Actually, I guess Theosophy was always present somehow in my family. The contact with Theosophical Society came a little bit later, but I remember my father always sitting in the sofa with a book, and in the opposite part of the book behind there was a face of a woman, very mysterious face that always caught my attention. Later, I will know that she was HPV and that the book was The Secret Doctrine. And I used to remember that secret doctrine. And it was so appealing to me, and it had a lot of mystery. And okay, it just, of course, vanished among the childish interest, etc. But always was there. And my parents, even before marrying, they were also in the search of spirituality. They went to different groups, and also later, like during my teenage years, my mother created a reading club among the three of us, in which we used to study Bhagavad Gita. Of course, at the beginning, I was not very interested because I was a teenager at the time. But then when we began to discuss, I guess maybe I was not, it was that I was not interested, but because we always used to talk about the spiritual things, about the dead, about reincarnation, many things in a very natural way. It was part of our daily talk at home, even with my friends. We used to have very deep conversations on those subjects. And then my parents that knew something about Blavatsky, and they were searching always this Theosophical Society, wondering if there was a Theosophical Society in Bogota, in Colombia, the capital city of Colombia. And one day in a party they met, of a common friend, they met the person who was in charge. My father was a musician, a classical guitar player, teacher, and this person was a singer. So they connected not only to the art, but also to the fact that she was the in charge of the Theosophical Society in Bogota. So from that moment, we went there and we began to attend the meetings. And a few months after that, my father died, but my mother and me continue going to the Theosophical Society. And it was really beautiful because when I attended the first meeting, I felt like, oh, this is what we always talk about. And now it's like, I guess for us, for many of us, is this kind of feeling that you have reached home some way. You are back home some way, and that finally all these things that you used to have like intuitively, or that you used to talk, maybe now they have a name, or there is an explanation, very logical, by the way, behind to many of the things of the daily life. So that was kind of the journey. And since then, my mom and I, of course, we became members, and we are involved more actively. But I guess Theosophy was, because I think this also, I mean, as we talk about the reincarnation, etc., maybe this thing was from previous lives. I don't know if in Theosophy or anything, but I have always believed that I was a Buddhist monk in one of my lives. So maybe that's also why, I don't know. Anyway, that was the way I talked too much. Sorry.
Yeah, I think on a lighter but very serious note, I would like to say that that I came in contact with Theosophy just like anyone else did, like any other person who comes in touch with Theosophy. And the reason being some good karmas in the past lives. Why I am saying that? Because sometimes we forget how rich treasure or how big a heritage of philosophy and a way of living we have come into contact with, but we take it for granted. And we don't appreciate it, value it so much. And it is very important to realize that if something like this has come into our life, it cannot be by an accident. So there must be, and such things only come in life as a result of some good deed, or some selfless service, which turns out into a spiritual aspiration, and something like this comes into life. So just like anybody else, I think all the more reason to keep doing good. And I'm sure, just like as Catalina has said, I think all of us or all of the people who are coming in touch in this life must have been, in one way or another, been in touch with Theosophy, or maybe in touch with the philosophy under some other name. Maybe some other name like under Buddhistic name or Hindu name or Kabbalah or anything else, any other school, but along the same line of thought. So that was, I would say, that coming into touch with Theosophy. But when we say Theosophical Society, which is the medium or the body of Theosophy in this recent times, I would say the whole credit goes to my mother, especially, I would say, because as you mentioned that she is a very long-term member, and she is one of those people who I find that alongside with her job, because many people come and work in this field after they get retired, after, they are 60 years old and they get retired from the work. And that is why this World Federation of Young Theosophists, or any young Theosophist group, is so important to continue, that alongside our jobs, alongside our livelihood that we are working, other duties, we should not forget about this very important thing. And that's what, when I'm talking about her, she founded a lodge where she was posted in that time. So, and the theosophical books were all around the house, and then regular meetings used to happen at our house. So, of course, at that age, I was 15 or 14, 16 years old. So, okay, I had some interest in this, in the spirituality. But apart from that, there was certain excitement also that people will be coming, and then after the meeting, we'll go and prepare tea and snacks, arrange snacks for them, and meet more people. And then this regular meeting with people discussing that somehow, and also my mother used to take us to different places whenever she used to go to attend a study camp, either in Varanasi or Bhavali, which is the Himalayan Institute of the Theosophical Society in India here. So we used to go with her, and I think somehow from there, that seed was sown inside, which, of course, later on when I decided to leave my job, that was a decision inspired by those events, I guess. So that's how I would say I came in touch with Theosophy and Theosophical Society. By the way, I must say that I started reading J. Krishnamurti first, because along with my mother bought his books also, and I liked his teachings, the way of expression a lot. Later on, I started reading the Theosophical publishing books. Yeah, so that was it.
That's very interesting. Thank you for that. The next question I would like to ask you, what does your past education and profession bring to your theosophical experience? So what is the connection between your academic and professional background and theosophical work and theosophical life?
I feel a great deal of influence and value-added thing that I get from my education, professional education, and the work that I did. As I told you, I did my graduation in nautical science, in which we studied about a lot of things, oceanography, about oceans. So we are living by the ocean right now in these days, Indian Ocean in Adyar, and meteorology, astronomy, learning about the stars and clouds, and a lot of things other than just running the ship. So but apart from this academic thing, couple of things that I feel made me more, sensitive to take that decision, that at a very young age, I got a lot of exposure to so many people of different countries. I mean, on the ship, you meet people, and not only meet, you work as a team. The ship, running the ship is like a complete teamwork. So you meet people from different countries, different culture, different languages. So I think that was my first experience to go beyond these barriers, because many times we are, if we are limited to our place, even many people don't go out of the city. So one kind of mindset is developed. But when you meet people from different backgrounds, nationalities, and you see that actually, there is nothing much different. And what the thing that struck me most, that people all around have same problems. I mean, their problems are not at all different, whether it is a person belonging to so-called developed country or developing country or undeveloped country or whatever name we want to give. Problems are exactly okay. I mean, minor changes would be there, but the same kind of psyche, whether it is of fear, of happiness, of anxiety, of even depression, insecurity. So, and even the people who are earning a lot of money are not satisfied. I mean, because I was in, the administrative side. So, the topmost post on a ship is captain. And at that time, and not at that time and forever, a very good compensation is given. So even they have, always some sort of dissatisfaction. So that actually, that's why I think I took 10 years to leave the job, because somehow I felt that no amount of money, no amount of comfort, and no amount of possessions can give you that inner peace. No matter what you get from outside, it is not going to give you satisfaction, complete satisfaction until, so what other path to go? So, I mean, with my background, since I was in touch with my mother, and she was in Theosophical Society and all those literatures. So I knew that all these things, that when it is said no other path to go. So that was a very strong influence, that I realized that the material wealth, okay, it is needed for basic requirements like your food, your shelter, your clothes. But when you go in that race of getting more and more and more and more, it is an endless pit, a pit without a bottom. So you can never fill it. So that was one very important inner understanding I got. And the other thing that I feel I learned a lot from my job was organization, coordination, managing the projects, and value of time. I mean, and yeah, I especially like ship is going into the port, and every minute is important. If you miss your turn, if you miss reducing the engines, the ship will run aground. So, you have to be right on the dot. So I think that's one thing I see in TS also. Like if the meeting is at 9 o'clock or whatever, the meeting starts at 9 o'clock, whether 2 people are there or 3 people are there or 100 people are there. So that is one other thing. And also I think that coordination and organization skills that I learned were very useful in being the convention officer here, because it was really a good experience. So I really feel gratitude that although I'm I feel like that life of mine, that professional life of mine is like some other life. It's not this birth. It's like some other birth. And this is a different life altogether, but it is something from which I learned a lot. I made many friends, and really it was a good exposure, going around the world, visiting all the almost all the continents. So that's what I can say about it. Thank you.
Now, Catalina, what about you?
Okay. I studied literature. I decided to study literature, and my initial aim was to be maybe an editor or a writer, something like that. But of course, life takes you for the path that you really belong to, even if you don't sometimes realize it very consciously. And I ended up in education, which was something that that always was part of my life because both my parents were teachers. So I guess, and I have had the good chance also to be with different levels. I mean, from preschool to university, young adults, all adults, like all the ages, I have been able to be in touch and in different subjects also. So a little bit on the line that Shikhar already mentioned, that made me realize how, I mean, it's like a way, and also in different countries, so that always give you like a very wide view of the humanity and that unity that really is part of all of us. So you see a small child or an old person, and when you see them as a student, you see that they are, I mean, there are so many possibilities, but also the behaviors, the feelings, the concerns are very similar, and that gives you that kind of view. And also, I think the education is a field. Okay, one of the reasons why I like education very much is because it's a way, any field that you are in is a way to serve, of course. I'm not saying that, oh, education is the only way to serve, or one of the, anything that you do with heart, with honesty and everything is an opportunity to serve for the divine plan. But education always caught my attention because it's an opportunity to serve in a way to create the new generations, to say it in some way. And I guess getting to know the children and how, I mean, it's so amazing to be among children because you see these all these like theoretical things that we discuss in theosophy, like reincarnation, all these tendencies that we discussed. It's so real. You see the small children of 3-4 years old, how they come full of wonderful things, how you have so many things to learn from them, how if you have the opportunity to be with them, you transform yourself even more than you can help them to transform. So it's also a way to, I guess education gives you the opportunity to transform yourself a lot by observing the other and by really establishing a relationship with the person that you are trying to teach. And that is very beautiful. That is really a transformative.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Clover is also a teacher, so she can. I mean, education is something that transforms you in a deep way, and then you realize that the best way to serve those souls that are learning, whether the souls are in small bodies or in old bodies or in middle-aged body, no matter, is. I mean. You feel that unless you really go under the process of self-transformation, you cannot be the teacher that you should be. So that for me is wonderful. And also, I guess teaching, maybe this can sound as a cliche, but the best way to understand something is to teach that something. So when you teach, you have to prepare, and then you understand so many things. And when you verbalize, I guess the power of the word is something very important in education, because you make, sometimes you have like all the class prepared. I think everything is so nice. They are going to love my class. And then you're in the class and then you listen to yourself and you realize so many things. And then I guess it's also something that helps you to be prepared for the, how do you say that in English? When you don't know what things are unexpected, for the unexpected. And that's what life is, because you never know what is going to happen in the classroom. You always have a plan, of course. I guess that also is something education helped me a lot, because when you are a teacher, you will plan, you will organize, you will have everything, but you know that maybe won't happen. But if you have that plan, at least you will have some base, and you will improvise and flow with more. I don't know. It's very strange. I have had also that experience that, okay, let's go today to the class. I did one time, I won't prepare it. Let's see what happens. It was terrible. But even if the things that don't happen as the way I saw them, if I have this preparation of the class, the improvisation of the flowing, because it's not that you're improvising, it's just that you are connecting to the other. So I guess this is something that education gives you for life, that allows you to be ready to establish connections with people in a very authentic way, a very spontaneous way, and just to flow with that. And of course, in the theosophical work, it is very important, because as Theosophical Society, our first objective is the brotherhood, make a fact, make a practice in our daily life, the universal brotherhood and sisterhood, siblinghood, kinship. I guess even if we connect in of Theosophy sometimes, of course, you have to have an intellectual understanding. That is important, of course, but unless you get to connect with the people from your heart, it's like a connection heart to heart, I don't think there is this real brotherhood. And I have felt this very much during all the theosophical work that I have done, whether with the round table in Colombia, this connection, no matter what happens, if the meeting goes well or not, it's only that connection with the person that maybe that day is coming in not a very good mood, but you get to establish this connection that really makes a difference. And I guess when we get to establish the connections, the theosophical work gets strengthened, because that is what creates any institution. So the teachers are very important, of course, inspire us, we learn from that. But when we really want to make something big and that something lasts over the time, is the human connection what really matters. And I could feel that very much in Narden last year, and in the youth gathering here in Adyar in last December also. I guess the fundamental, okay, the study was great. It was very nice, because that helps us to understand many things, to interiorize, but the connections are the things that we are always going to carry. And I guess dealing with children, dealing with the students gives you that also. And okay, from the part of the literature that I had to read my entire 4 years, I didn't stop reading for a second, and it was very systematic. The kind of preparation that this career gives you is very nice, because you read and you go to the text, you kind of go in between the lines of the text, and you have to really get this kind of, it's like these, how do you call these dogs that the police use? Sniffing. You become like a sniffing. And I guess that helped me a lot in the moment that I have to read theosophical literature, because it was like a training for the mental specifically. to really get it was a very good training to really get to understand the deeper theosophical literature. So I guess these two things, of course, were very useful. And part of maybe in my case a little bit different, I have been during all my professional life. I became a member right the same year that I graduated from college. So, and I was totally in love with Theosophical Society and Theosophy and very involved in the work of the Theosophical Society in Colombia by then. So I cannot see my professional life without the Theosophical work. They have been always together since, I mean, my first job, formal job, because I used to have many informal jobs before, it was already being a member of TS, being involved with Theosophy. So I guess not only my job and my professional background helped me with the work in the Theosophical Society, but vice versa. All the work and all the learning that I had with the Theosophical Society helped me a lot in my professional path. So they have been always together. And of course, as Clover mentioned, I apart from a teacher, I am a long life volunteer. I'm a deep believer in the volunteer job. I guess it's very important that we do volunteer job in our lives at some moment of our lives. I have been doing through all my life also. So there is like my professional work, theosophical work, the volunteer work always there. And big part of my volunteer job has been in the Theosophical Society in Brazil, here in India. So for me, it's like a relationship that cannot be, I mean, they nourish each other all the time. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I really agree that really true education is about touching the hearts of, touching hearts, right? And connecting with each other, because that's when you are helping that person from within and not trying to change them from without. And but I feel like what's kind of unfortunate is that these days a lot of in schools, a lot of the connection is the importance of connection is pushed aside, and teachers prioritize getting work done. I'm also part of that system, so I think it's pretty unfortunate that in our drive towards, getting children to become the adults that they are not ready to become yet, we kind of neglect the most important part of education, which is to touch hearts and to connect with the souls that you're touching, instead of trying to make sure whatever we plan goes to plan. And it never goes to plan. And I totally agree with you on that part. I really think that after years of experience, I realized the best thing is to just let it flow. And it's about you and whoever you are, the working with, your students are who you work with. And it's about this kind of interplay of like between souls, instead of, trying to get the work done. So I think it's something very beautiful, and thank you for what the both of you have shared. I've learned a lot.
I just would like to add to what you said that God, I forgot what was that. Oh yes, you said the planning, no? Because the planning is something you do with the mind. It's very intellectual kind of thing, but then you know that there are more aspects to the human being than just this kind of thing, and that's when you really can make some impact or like that. And also because education is I mean, we normally it's like about fulfilling the person with a lot of information, but real education is, I mean, the kids are so wise, they have so many things inside. You are the channel to help them take all these wonderful things out, that is to educate. Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I feel like the two of you are involved in a very important kind of education, which is theosophical education. And you have gotten your share of theosophical education since a young age, like Shikhar, in your in your past experiences in your childhood, your education, your job, and I feel like definitely because of our past connection with theosophy in our past or a similar form of philosophy, we are able to sense and kind of extract the essence of things in whatever that we come across in life. And so yeah, I think it's very inspiring, your experiences, so thank you. And yeah, how about, what do you think is most unique about Theosophy? Maybe you could share. And why?
Okay. Unique about Theosophy. I think many things are unique about Theosophy. And but okay, what I feel, okay, because there is uniqueness in Theosophy and also Theosophical Society. It's a different thing. But for me, what actually attracted, I mean, because when I was reading J. Krishnamurti, and when I left my job, I, along with theosophical literature, I had other literatures also, access to other literatures, and I read many of them also. But one thing that I found very unique in Theosophy is its scientific approach to things, to the reality. Like the talks about planes of consciousness, bodies, and all those things. It's all there in Upanishads, in other scriptures. But the thing is, they are just written there, and there are no explanations or how it happened, or you just have to you read, either you meditate and find it out for yourself, or you just believe it. But in the modern era, I think through HPB's writings, it was the first time that we came to know the scientific aspect of these things, even the scientific aspect of religion, because a lot of stories in Bible or Quran or Puran, they are like symbolical stories. And people used to say, oh, that the people who used to believe, they used to say, oh, this is the ultimate truth. And people who did not believe, they say it's superstitious. But none of them knew the truth. HPB, through her writings, did the great service to all religious scriptures, that she explained those symbolisms and what science is hidden behind the numbers. The numbers given in these scriptures are not just random numbers, but they have some, occult meaning and the esoteric meaning about them. So I feel that this scientific aspect or approach is very unique to Theosophy. Other thing I feel is the inclusiveness, the inclusivity of Theosophy. There is no aspect of life that is not touched. In the objectives itself, if you see, whether it is religion, philosophy, or science, because those who are religious thought science is opposed to them. Those who are scientific, they think religion is, is subpar. Those who are philosophers, for them, religion and science doesn't matter. But Theosophy, through its, again, the expressions and comparative study, it gave us a glimpse that no, religion, philosophy, science, all are leading the individual towards one thing, that is the truth. So in this aspect, then you take the inclusivity in all the creatures of the earth, not just human beings. What many people think that, okay, humanity is the crest of existence and rest everything is for our use. and we see where the earth is going. But Theosophy so clearly explains that it's not just human kingdom, it's animal, plants, and not just to stop there, even mineral. And then there are invisible aspects of life forms, which are all there combinedly. They are making this together an organism. So inclusivity at that level. And maybe if we can find anywhere, I mean, we can see there's no aspect which is not touched by Theosophy. And the last, what I feel personally, the most important uniqueness of Theosophy, which only I also read, or I also, came to know only when I read Theosophical literature, because if you ask any person in the world who is spiritually interested in spirituality, if you ask them of whatever religion, that, okay, what is your purpose? Somebody will say, I want liberation. Somebody will say, I want moksha. Somebody will say, I want nirvana. Somebody will say, I want salvation. But in Theosophy, if we read, we come to know that there is a higher secret path. Not secret, not in the sense to be hidden away, but which is a higher path. Means that moksha or nirvana or liberation is just the beginning. It is not the end. Only after arriving at that stage of consciousness, there are actually, you really become a worker, conscious worker of divine plan. Until before that, we are just guided by our desires, ambitions, impulses, and all those things, and life and birth. But only once you are at that level of consciousness, then you can actually become a co-worker in divine plan. And that was like real, like a shock to me personally, that wow, such a high standard of selfless service. And that is why there are like, so that is why Buddha is like, he's revered so much, because he was the first one to sacrifice or refuse to go in nirvana, so that he could remain here in this sphere until the last individual is, freed from suffering. So that is the level of selfless service or sacrifice, or not thinking about yourself. I mean, even if you want to grow spiritually, don't do it because of yourself, but because it is the right thing to do, so that collective human consciousness is uplifted. So this philosophy or this aspect in Theosophy, I have not come across anywhere else. And okay, I don't know much. I have not studied much, but whatever I have studied in other schools of thought, I have not come across. And this was very important. And not only that, somebody may think that, it is a very high ideal. So how to start in daily life? And that's all we study, that do not desire for, like in Light on the Path, no? Kill out the desire for pleasure, kill out the desire for this, or do not desire recognition. So from daily life, when we start working on that, maybe at that point of time, we may be able to choose this path of renunciation of nirvana, and coming back again and again to help fellow travelers. So for me, this scientific approach and inclusivity and this higher spiritual path that I feel are the unique features in Theosophy for me. Maybe there may be others also.
Thank you.
Well, of course, I agree with every of the points that he mentioned. And there is something that it's also very meaningful and I guess unique of Theosophy and Theosophical Society. And it is that for me, the freedom of thought is something very important. And I guess that is something that Theosophical Society has as its own characteristic. And I guess this is something important also in the sense that this freedom of thought really allows you to to be the architect and the creator of your own path, your own life. You are not taught or told, you do this, you do that. I mean, in Theosophy, there are no gurus. I also, I really have not studied a lot of different other approaches, but whatever I have seen, there is always whether a person, like a guru, like a personality, like or whether a book, a sacred book, or something in which you are supposed to find that truth that you have to follow, and everything will go good. But in Theosophy, there is no such. So you become the own responsible of your journey. And I guess this is the real freedom of thought. It's not about, oh, I can believe anything, I can do anything. It's how whatever I am reading, I am learning. I can relate to my own life, to my own needs, to my own path, and to the people that surround me. And how can I make it a practice in my daily life with my own criteria? Nobody is because this freedom of thought implies that you have a very critical mind, in the sense that you have to examine everything. You have to go deep to everything and see how does it relates to you and talks to you specifically, and how can it help you in your path. So it's amazing that how that freedom is this possibility of really a real transformation in a very scientific way. There is something that I like. It's like Theosophy brings us the tools for a scientific transformation of ourselves, because it makes a lot of sense. It has, for me, it has a lot of logic. It gives very logical explanation to the daily life challenges. It's very practical. And at the same time, it's very philosophically inspiring. It's like in all the words, it's so poetic. Like you read this, for me personally, I read The Secret Doctrine, and I just got mesmerized by the poetry that book has. Is something like it transports me to another plane of the existence. But at the same time, it gives me the tools for my daily life and for facing the most trivial, apparently, problem of the day. So this is unique for me in Theosophy, and I guess that's the only thing I have to add to what Shikhar said.
Thank you.